Welcome to another episode of the Get Out Swim podcast. I'm your host, Seamus D. Quinn, and today I'm joined by a legend at OSU, swim and dive, someone who is now working in the Ohio State athletics department, is pursuing a graduate degree set to finish this spring, and still competing. Recently made a comeback last spring and is a Olympic trial, a finalist hopeful, and more hope, maybe more. So today's guest is Hannah Bach. Hannah, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, no problem. That's all right. That is exactly who I am right now in this day and age.
Yeah, how did I lay that out? Because that would that be a complete
that looked good. That was great.
Picture? Okay.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
Good, because I was like, because I remember I was looking at some data points actually with your coach at Ohio State, Brian, and I think he mentioned that you had the second fastest 50 breast split ever, and I was like, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and then you won 16 Big Ten titles, and 4 in a row in the 100 breast. Is that also correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. So that's pretty rare. And then you were on a second place relay at nationals.
Correct.
Okay. And what relay was that?
That was a 200 medley relay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the rings breakdown is we're fortunate at Ohio State to be able to, when a team wins a championship, or at least swimming, from my knowledge, if you win a team title, the whole team will get a ring. If you win a relay title, those 4 girls will get a ring. And if you win an individual title, you'll get a ring as well. So through my 5 years at Ohio State, I was ultimately able to collect 16 titles.
Wow.
Yeah,
incredible.
4 individual, 8 relay, so 4 2 med, 4 med, and then 14 titles.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most memorable?
I actually get asked that question a lot. It's really hard to pick because each year, each team is so different, and each team kind of has their own theme, I would say. Although I kind of default to the first one at Iowa when I was a freshman. I think the highest place we had gotten previous to that for a long time was about 3rd place. And so as the meet was progressing, the buzz started to happen, the feelings started to happen, the butterflies started to happen, and could we do this? The thoughts of, we can do this. We are the underdogs. Nobody's expecting this to happen. We're flying around within our team, and ultimately we were able to win, and it was a true underdog story at that moment, and it was a really, really awesome win, and just time with those girls and those women. Yeah. Ultimately, it was just very memorable.
That first year kind of being an underdog, winning in Iowa, introduction into college swimming, right? As a first year, and then
it's very true.
Winning a Big Ten title. So how many Big Ten titles did your team win across your time there?
4.
4.
So from my team titles, it was my freshman year to my senior year.
Gotcha.
And then individual titles actually is different. So
right.
It was my sophomore year to my 5th year was my individual 4 titles in a row.
Gotcha.
So what happened my freshman year, I saw one of the questions that said, how did you breakthroughs in swimming? So or maybe even biggest lessons that I learned in swimming as a college athlete. And so I would say it goes back to my freshman year. There's another story along with it that could stem from high school, but we can get into that too.
Yeah.
However you want to edit it, I don't know. But
no.
So my freshman year of college, I was seated first. So prelims had happened in the 100 breast, and I was seated first going into finals in the 100 breaststroke. And I had gone a Ohio State school record in the morning. I think I went about 58.4, I want to believe. So I was in the middle of the pool as a freshman. And for me at Big Tens, that was, my ultimate goal. And I was there and I was ready for it. And come finals, I was winning at the 50 and I had slipped on the wall and things you can't control, right? And so I kind of locked up and ended up getting 8th in the heat. And it was very, very disappointing for me. And I felt I let our team down, right? We're trying to go for this team title. The butterflies are flying and I just totally ate it.
Yeah.
And so I just, I feel really defeated. I felt really, that I just didn't perform the way I should and that I let everybody down. Well, and that was totally the opposite. And everybody was extremely supportive and there for me, coaching staff, my teammates. But the lesson learned was resilience. And my mind goes back to baseball's big in my family. And my brother plays at John Carroll University. He's in his senior year. And I thought, he was in high school at the time, but I was still thinking back to that. My brother's playing baseball. They get up there and they swing and a miss and they strike out and they have to be up to bat in 2 innings. They have to pretend like it didn't happen. So for me, I kind of went with that mentality. I have to swim the 2 breasts tomorrow. And for me, that was kind of a longer distance at the time. And I came in with a 2:14. And I'm like, I need to get something done here. Like, I can't just let this defeat me. So ultimately, I was able to win the C final in about a 2:11. And that was a 3-second drop for me. And I was able to come back and not just, be sad about my strikeout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good analogy to baseball, though. I think, you're right, though. You have to have goldfish memory a little bit and move on. I think that's something that swimmers constantly have to grapple with psychologically, because you could have, 10 races across a 3-day meet, more, maybe less, but regardless, you're going to have several races most of the time. And it is true. Like, how do you let one race not deter you from the next? Because it really can have such a big, impact on your next race. And
100%.
Yeah, that's
what set us apart. I feel like, at least the team that I was a part of, and the team that's still around does hold that legacy true, that we do it for our girls next to us. We do it for the sisterhood. We do it for, all the girls who came before us. And so when that's riding on your back and that, you have to be able to step up when you need to step up. And especially in a moment like that, when we're trying to win a team title and you're part of that team that's scoring, sometimes it might not happen. But that's the value of practice and mental reps. You can practice the bad in your mind. You can practice the bad in practice so that if the bad happens at your big meet, when the lights are bright, or at least sort of know how to handle it mentally and with your coaches. And so that's why I believe also that being coachable is so important, because you have to have that relationship with your coach to be able to gain clarity whenever you need it, to be able to talk about things that are hard during practice or maybe not. And just it leads to trust in the process. And that is ultimately what's going to get you to the outcome. Being outcome focused and outcome driven is not going to get you to the place that you want to be. Being in love with the process is going to get you where you want to be, in my opinion. Especially if you want to be a Division I swimmer or even a top Division III swimmer. You want to be any sort of athlete post high school, you have to be able to do that.
Where did the love of swimming start for you?
Great question. So my family is very large. We grew up with many, many siblings. I have 6 siblings and I have 4 step siblings. So I grew up with my 6 siblings, and then my step siblings came a little bit later in life. But my mom just kind of threw us in everything. My parents said, bye. They were So we all kind of just gravitated towards our sports. Two of my sisters were dancers. My one sister was a softball player. My brothers played baseball. And I was a basketball player growing up. And so I did gymnastics, ice skating, volleyball, softball, track, cross country, swimming.
Yeah.
So, with all the sports that we were doing, as we got older, the sport kind of chose us. So I would say I'll take you through a timeline. So when I was 6 years old, my mom had put us all into swimming, right? Like the summer league. And so I really liked it. And so some time went on. And when I was about 10 years old, I was like, Mom, is there like something I could do besides summer league for swimming? And she's like, actually, yeah, I think there's like something called like club swimming or like YMCA swimming. And so we were looking for club teams or YMCA teams around our area. And ultimately I went with this team called University Swim Club, USC. And so that was my first club team So I'm from Cleveland. And so it was in the east side of Cleveland. So I practiced at US, which is University School. I practiced out in Euclid. I practiced in Twinsburg and Orange until I was 14. And then when I was going into high school, we had a team open up about 5 minutes from my house called Cleveland Swim Institute. And so that was my club all up until college. But what led me to swimming, so, you go into eighth grade, you're going through middle school. So you can do your school sports for the first time. And so I had to pick. So at the time, I actually didn't have to pick. So I did basketball and I did cross country and I ran track. And then I did swimming just a little bit on the side, like maybe twice a week or something, whatever my mom could get me out to, running around with all the kids. And so, eighth grade's done and you're going into high school, and swimming and basketball are in the same season. So I picked swimming by basketball. So that's one sport gone. And then that leaves cross country and track. And so my mom, I'm actually grateful for her now, but at that time I was not. She was like, "We're not going to do cross country. We need to save your legs. We need to save your knees, but you can run track." And so, me being the rebellious high school girl, I went to every single cross country first practice that they held, and my mom would not sign the paper. But anyway, I really wanted to run, and I loved running, and so I got to run track. And so in high school, freshman year, swimming, I, was able to place ninth at states, and that was a huge deal. Like, I didn't even think I was going to make states. It was so awesome at the time because I hadn't really swum year round at this point. I just was swimming winter season and short course and everything. And I was just kind of starting to get into swimming. Like high school season was the longest I had swum consistently.
Yeah. And
so then track season comes in the spring, and I was able to make states in that as well. And I placed 5th or 6th, I believe, in the 300-meter hurdles. And so, I'm a state-bound athlete in 2 sports in high school at this point. And so sophomore year comes around, and states for swimming comes around, and I was like, I'm going to win this year. I'm going to do it. It's happening. I just had this insane belief in myself, and I ended up placing 5th, which is better than the year before, but I was completely devastated. I was crying and just so disappointed, and the world was over. And I vowed to myself that day. I just remember me sitting in the car, and I'm just like, I'm never going to feel this way again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to feel this way again. I don't ever want to feel this way again. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to not feel this way again. And so
what do you think that comes from?
I just really didn't like, it's not a, I didn't like losing. I just knew I was better, and maybe I wasn't there yet. And maybe I need to do something different to get myself to where I know I can be.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is a little bit of I don't want to lose. I'm a very competitive person, and so winning is great, but I did fall in love with the process at that point. To my earlier point, but then so to continue with the story really quick, sophomore year track comes around spring, and so I'd qualified in the 100 hurdles and the 300 hurdles this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not make finals. I competed in the heats, but I did not make finals, and I was just kind of like, yeah. So at that moment, I really realized that my passion lied in swimming.
Yeah.
And so I ultimately, I just was like, hey, coach, sorry, I'm just not going to come back next year. I'm going to really focus on swimming. So around 15 years old was when I started swimming year round. So my first long course practices were pretty rough. I didn't really know what long course was. I didn't really know.
You'd weeded out basically the sports that you didn't, that didn't kind of match up to swimming, and then you chose swimming. And so you're 15 and now you're going to commit to it full time. So what does that time look like from then until getting to OSU? Like what changes do you start to see, and how does that time shift your level of swimming?
Great question. So, to go back to your previous question of like, how does that mindset happen? And my answer was, what can I do different? And so I knew that swimming year round would be a bigger commitment. So I knew that other things needed to change other than just my volume in the pool. I needed to change my nutrition. No offense to my high school cafeteria at all, but I knew that nutrition was going to be something that could maybe set me apart. And so from then on, like 15 plus, I started cooking all my meals at home. And so I would make my breakfast, and I would eat. My high school teachers were kind enough to let me eat in class, as long as I wasn't disruptive, right? And so I was able to, go to swim practice in the morning and then eat my breakfast in first period. And then I was able to eat my lunch during band class. And I, would eat a snack before 3 p.m. practice, and then, swim 3 to 5, and then go home and eat 17 dinners and then go to bed. But so that's that was the first step for me towards really getting better. And then I had taken a private lesson actually from Glenn Mills, and he'd also provided me with some feedback on how I finished into the wall. I would send him film, and it was so valuable to me, and it really changed my trajectory in swimming. And I could be wrong on timeline here. I might have taken the private lesson a little bit earlier, but ultimately, he gave me some tips and tricks. Details are really important. You got to be really good off the wall. You got to be really good at pullouts and, tweaking my stroke just a little bit. That kind of, was able to put my times on Ohio State's radar, I feel like, in my trajectory. And so when I was being recruited at the time, I believe you could only start to be recruited around your junior year. I think now it's your sophomore year. And so the first school to reach out to me was actually the Naval Academy.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. And, my parents are kind of like, well, that's, they can reach out to you before any other school, like, all the military academies. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I don't care. That's still, awesome. And so I did take it seriously. And anyway, so moving on, I looked at Wisconsin a little bit. I looked at Kentucky and Ohio State. And so I decided to go on some visits. And so I went to a junior day at the Naval Academy and really, really enjoyed it. I got to meet the team. I got to see the facilities. I got to, learn what life would be like there. And I was all in. I was like, okay, I could totally see myself doing this. And I go to Kentucky. This is the story about Ohio State. So I went on so that was like a couple months prior for Naval Academy, and then, or weeks prior. So I did a Thursday, Friday at Kentucky and a Friday, Saturday at Ohio State, unofficial visits, just me. And so my mom had driven me. And so we went to Kentucky first. I met with the head coach Lars at the time. And I really liked everything there. The facilities were great. The girls were also awesome, and nothing to complain there. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And so I bought all the gear, and I'm like, I'm committed to Kentucky. I'm ready to go. Just like I feel like when everybody gets excited,
yeah,
it's just part of the process.
It's fun, to go through the recruiting process and get paid attention to and be around all these like amazing athletic facilities. Like it's a fun process. I mean,
100%.
I didn't get to that level where I was like touring big time Division I schools, but even just touring mid-major Division I schools or whatever, like it was all, I was like, wow, like I want to go here, I want to go there. I could see, it's exciting. It's exciting.
It is. And so then, we're driving up the highway to Ohio State. I'm like, Mom, like, no, I'm ready to go. I know where I'm going. She's like, you made a commitment and you're going to go. Again, Mom knows best. And so I kid you not, and this couldn't be more cliche. I quite literally stepped out of the car, put my foot down.
I lost you.
That's
you there?
Okay. I can pick up where I left off. So
yeah. So the last thing I heard was it was cliche, but you put your foot down on campus.
So it's really cliche. I quite literally just put my foot down out of the car, and I hadn't met anybody yet. I haven't talked to any of the girls yet. I haven't met the coaches. I haven't seen the facilities. I haven't done anything. And I was like, looks like we're going to have to return the Kentucky jersey I bought. And then, the girls were so kind, and, we went upstairs to the dorm and, went to bed, and I went to practice the next day. And the girls who were involved on my unofficial visit, keep in mind, it's just a random person coming in, were girls that I would not be swimming with in college. And that's something that really stood out to me. Girls who I wouldn't be swimming with in college are going to give me the time of day when they're so busy and they have so much going on in their lives. They want the legacy of their team to be so good that they're willing to give up their time. It's something that I noticed straight away. And ultimately, when I was in college, I embodied the same thing. But I was taken aback by that. And so that was super, super awesome. And, we went to breakfast after practice, and it was a really great visit. And so I had called Kentucky later, and I was like, no, you have to do all the no's kind of first. And then, the decision got a little bit harder because I really, 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 really did love Navy and the coaching staff and the girls, and I could totally see myself being successful there. Now, when you're deciding between a decision like that, I feel like you have to decide based maybe on what you want out of your experience. And now that's kind of what you think about for everything. But when you get down to your last two, you like the girls, you like everybody, you like everything. So what's the commitment that you're going to make? And so for Navy, it would be like the Navy things, the school things, and the swim things. And Ohio State would be the school things and the swim things. And so, I really sat down and I wrote it all out. And, ultimately, along with the recruiting that I saw at Ohio State and just the genuineness, everybody was so genuine. And I had called Navy and was like, I was crying. I was upset. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't come to Navy. I'm going to go be a Buckeye. And Rob Wyez, if that's how you pronounce his last name, he was like, it's okay. You're going to be great. Ohio State's so lucky to have you. And so I hung up the phone and I called Bill right after and was like, I'm ready to be a Buckeye. Amazing. And that was that. It was amazing. So yeah, my tip for recruiting is save the good one for last.
Yeah. Looking back on it, I mean, I guess what advice would you have to people who are going through that recruiting process and trying to find the right fit based off of your experience and what you now know about college athletics and whatnot? Like, what would you tell people to prioritize essentially?
It's a great question. So you can be recruited earlier, right? So your sophomore year, so you're a little bit younger. And maybe even just getting used to high school and high school swimming and balancing club and figuring out how that all works.
Mm.
And maybe you're like me and you're still doing other sports at that time. And you're like, I really like basketball, or I really like volleyball, or whatever. Do those things. 100% do those things. I would say college, when you're being recruited, it's important to maybe be sort of a well-rounded athlete growing up. Maybe not, swimmers who are great can also swim year round, right? But I would encourage them to still do those sports. Maybe, when swimming chooses you, you'll know, just kind of like me. And maybe not the same situation, but maybe you do your 2 sports all through high school, and that's so awesome. But I would say my advice when you're being recruited and contacted by all these schools, when you start the process, it's all going to be a little bit overwhelming. It's all going to be in your face. Your ego might get blown up a little bit. Oh my gosh, all these schools want me. Okay, maybe your ego's not blown up, and maybe the school I want to want me doesn't want me yet. So there's 2 aspects. You can be, responding to all these people and like kind of just having your mind run everywhere, or you can, sit back, analyze, figure out what you want. Do you want a small school? Do you want a medium school? Do you want a big school? Do you want to go Division 3? Do you want to go Division 2? Do you want to go Division 1?
Yeah.
All of those scenarios look different. And that is a conversation that you have to have with yourself that's brutally honest. Am I good enough to go D1? Is D3 is not a bad thing to do. Top end D3 is fast. Sometimes I would say going to a top end D3 school for swimming may be better than going to some like random Division 1 school. I would say that's what I would give my advice to. You just have to be honest with yourself as an athlete, what you want out of it, where you're at, and, give yourself grace, because maybe, you're a sophomore right now. Maybe by your senior year, you might be good enough to go D1. You might be much better.
Yeah, that could change.
A lot can change in that time period. And so I would say ultimately the decision is yours. It is important to talk it out with people, your friends, your family, maybe even your coaches, get their opinions. Yeah. It's good to talk it out, but ultimately the decision is yours. So to make that decision, I would say you need to get on campus, whether it is an unofficial visit, whether it's a junior day, or whether it's an official visit. You got to go see the facilities, the coaching staff. You got to hang out with the girls to see if, you gel with them. And sometimes you won't, sometimes you will. But I would say the most important thing is to set foot on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree
get that experience. And, it could be a little scary when you're a little bit younger, but, sometimes you have to take that leap of faith if you want to get to where you want to go.
So once you got to Ohio State, like what did you start seeing immediately, or, like that developed over your time there? I guess 2-part question. So what did you notice about the team that, you enjoyed and sort of thrived in being a part of? And then what grew over that time that you also now can look back on and be like, this was really special. Like, this is why Ohio State may be different than other schools or other programs.
So anybody who knows me knows that I maybe still am, but I was not the best trainer. And so what I mean by that is my aerobic capacity is not very strong. I would say I'm just full-blown sprinter.
Yeah.
Very power-oriented, springy athlete. Can go for a long period of time when I need to, but, the 200 is the farthest I'm going.
Sure.
And so when I got to Ohio State, first of all, in my recruiting process, I made it abundantly clear that I was not the strongest trainer, and they were understanding. And so when I got to Ohio State, they knew that might be the case, but maybe not like kind of how bad I actually was. Like, for example, I couldn't make hundreds long course meters on 130, 100 freestyle. Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't make 50s flutter kick on 110. I couldn't make, like, I was just really not that great. And what I really liked about the coaching staff and the girls was I've mentioned it, but they gave me grace and they let me get done what I need to get done, do what I need to do, however I need to do it, because I'm a racer at the end of the day. Whenever it's time for the lights to be bright, or even, maybe a little bit brighter, mid-season or something, I could turn it on. And it's not a lack of training. It's just maybe a mindset switch, or maybe even just I just love racing and can give it up for that amount of time. But it's a funny story. So I have a funny story to add. So we had these things called polars, and it's like a heart rate monitor that would go here. So the point to my aerobic capacity. So, we'd be going through practice, warm up happens, and like the preset and then the main set. And my heart rate is red the entire time. And everyone else has normal ranges whenever, you're supposed to be relaxing or like warming up or just kind of, DPS type things. My heart rate's red. I'm up there. So, I'm trying, right? So, that's kind of, they understood that I was really giving 110% every time I hopped in the pool, every time I was in the weight room. So that ultimately when Big Tens came, I was able to, been given the green light to just do what I do best and race. And so to answer your second part, I would say, when I look back, what made us so special, I have to say our team was extremely close. Our girls were more like sisters than teammates. We spent lots and lots of time together, and any swim team does that. But something was different about this group of girls. The understanding was there, and I think we have our senior class when we were freshmen to thank for that. When we were freshmen, we took a trip to Hawaii on a training trip before Christmas. And that was probably the hardest training I've done in my entire life. And I've done lots of training. I mean, I'm 25 now. But that we were freshmen then, and then college was so new, and it's December. So that we got like 3-ish months, maybe plus, of kind of college exposure. And we go to Hawaii for 2 weeks and away from our family and stuff. Away from home. We're on an island. But I remember we had finished training. It was a lot of training. And one of the seniors, Devin Lanstra, came up to me and she was like, I don't know how you're going to do it. And I'm like, what? And she's like, make it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, this is the hardest training we've ever done. And I've been here for 4 years. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, you guys handled it like it was nothing. And I'm like, what? This is like mind blowing. She's like, I couldn't make it another 4 years. I'm like, well, this is all I know. And so all of us kids, little freshmen, are like, this is all we know. All we know is grind and throw. All we know is put your head down and do it for the girl next to you. And that senior class and even junior class was so uplifting and so driven to change, maybe their past culture and instill a new one in us. And we were able, to listen and take that in and implement that through our 4 or 5 years. It was different.
What do you think made a big difference with your overall progression at Ohio State? Because you talked about you came in
personally.
Yeah, maybe personally. What do you think contributed to your continual sort of evolution and success, in the 100 breast and the 50 breast and popping these times and sort of cementing yourself as an elite breaststroker sprinter, at Ohio State, but also in all of Division I swimming. What do you think were big game changers in your training and your overall mentality through your time at Ohio State?
Great question. So I would say, on my personal journey, I'd say with my maybe lack of aerobic ability came a lack of pacing ability, came a lack of kicking ability. I was just really good at breaststroke.
Yeah.
But that aside, I'd say that what changed for me is I just had to be and decided that I needed to just get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I needed to learn to love the things that I hate. And hate might be a strong word, but a sprinter doesn't really like aerobic maybe, or a sprinter, breaststroker might not like flutter kick, or not necessarily hating it, but maybe liking the things that I'm not great at. And so maybe even faking it to make it, right? I just have to get my head down and do it. And in the weight room, I remember like sled pushes or even a lactate training on the bike. Nobody likes that. That is extremely hard. And, I just had to I maybe not like it. I just knew that it would get me to where I needed to be because, everybody's good at some things. I am good at some things in practice. And so those things are going to stay good. But if I can get my, bad, for lack of a better word, bad things up here, that gap gets way smaller, right? Yeah. So this will then lead to this.
Yeah.
Right. I will get elevated and I will be able to do things that I wasn't able to before because the things I wasn't great at got better. It's kind of like you're only as strong as, the team's only as strong as the weakest link. You bring that weakest link up just a little bit, the team gets better. Right.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's what I would say on my personal journey. That's how I was able to maybe, be able to get the results that I was able to get. And
were there are there examples or like specific maybe details that you would work on in practice or in the weight room that you can like correlate between?
Yeah. My first, one thing I was really good at was the weight room. I'd been lifting since, freshman year of high school, or actually like a little bit into 8th grade. So I knew all about Olympic lifts. I knew all about how my body can handle that kind of thing with the water. And that's partly why I wasn't the best trainer in the pool, because I was so sore from the weight room. So whatever you were getting from me out of the pool was 110% because my muscles were so tired. And I'm kind of lean and mean. And so I don't have, much to give there. And so my muscles are just tired if they're tired. But that's also the importance of fueling, right? You need to fuel properly.
Yeah.
But so in the weight room, in the beginning days, we would do, so first 6 weeks of practice are these circuits that you do. And so, as freshmen, kind of just got tossed in. And again, where the leadership from the seniors came in. And I remember Kristen Romano. She's actually a pro now for Puerto Rico, and she swims out of Tennessee. She just was like, this is our year. This is the year we're going to do it. We're going to get there, and you're going to do it for your sisterhood. You're going to do it for the girl next to you, and we're just going to do it. And you have to, when you want to give up, you go just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And so, like, before Big Tens happened, this was already in our mind that we could do it. Again, like before with Devin, this is all we knew as freshmen. We're going to win. Okay.
Yeah.
How do we get there, right? So, in the weight room was a really big game changer for me too. So carrying on through my career, getting girls' faces when they're maxing, being excited for people when they hit PRs, maybe not, on a big PR or whatever, but that person is getting better. Each link is getting better. And so, you could always feel the momentum building. And, once the train is going, the momentum is just, it's hard to stop it. And so that's kind of was my entire college career, I would say, is, our train never really stopped because it started from a foundation of knowing no different. But the importance of that is also those girls, like my class, us upholding that and bringing in people that could also buy into that culture, buy into that legacy, buy into the team in the same way. Excuse me. So
sounds
that's kind of what was different, I would say.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Well, it sounds very culture driven. Like what you keep coming back to is like being
I do, yeah, because not to cut you off, but yes, I would say like it's hard for me to talk about myself because I didn't do it all myself.
Right.
I wouldn't be as successful as I am without Laura Banks, Hannah Gresser, Sarah Sperber, Josie Panitz. Like, sorry if I didn't name my friends. I love you guys. But I trained with Josie like every day. We're breaststrokers, and she was right next to me the whole time. I couldn't do it without her. Like,
that's a good point.
So I had heard through the grapevine this year, Rachel Bachrath had put together a video or maybe a photo of the relay that got second at NCAA's right before Big Tens, or maybe NCAA's. They had a team meeting. And so up there, it's me, Kit Kat Zenick, Teresa Ivan, and Nia Funderburk. But Rachel pasted, over our faces. So I think Josie over my face, Amy Fulmer over Teresa, and I don't know about the other ones, but you can't do it without those girls. And so that culture that we instilled too is still happening here.
Right.
And so, as successful as I was, it wouldn't have happened without my team. And so that's why I keep talking so much about them and the awesome legacy that we had. But I guess on a personal level, my training, I just learned to love the things that I hate and knew that if I was weak in this, I had to get better for them.
Yeah. No, this is good, but it's also a clear emphasis on how important your teammates, training partners, overall culture was to like have individual success. Because like you said, you couldn't do it without those people. So that I really like that takeaway. And I'm wondering, so within like getting more into specifics within your breaststroke, obviously, so you learned to get kind of more not comfortable, but like you embraced things that you weren't maybe as good at, and that clearly helped. But like, what was it? How do you think about like, breaststroke when it comes to the 50, to the 100, to the 200? Like, how do you think about and approach your top speed and breaststroke, from details to a pace? Like, how did you learn to like develop your own race strategy and plan?
Right. So I would say that throughout my college career, it developed for sure. You always have to be a student of the sport and be learning. When I came in as a freshman, my breaststroke does not look the same as it does now, or as it did my junior year. You're always learning things, but in terms of, from the 50 to the 100 to the 200, in my opinion, at least for short course, what changes is not how fast you're moving your body or like your technique. It's how long you're gliding. That's the only thing that really changes. I feel like your stroke shouldn't look different. How long you glide should, in my opinion. Maybe your pullouts are a little bit shorter for the 50 than the 200. Well, they should be. You can't spend too much time under the water. But also in breaststroke, short course especially, it's a lot of hypoxic work. You have to be comfortable with that, especially the 200. You're swimming like the entire, like half the race underwater. Yeah. You have to be really good at pullouts. You have to be good at your turns. And, my advice would be too, is you got to get good at details. You got to get good at pullouts. You got to get good at turns. Because a lot of kids, a lot of people, maybe not at my level, but when you're growing up, the turn is a time to take a breath and relax.
Absolutely.
No, it is not actually. That is how you win races. Turns are how you win races, in my opinion.
I really like
and
that.
So through college, you know, I was not a good breaststroke puller. It was a foreign concept to me. We didn't even do it in high school. I didn't know you could pull breaststroke. No one told me I could. So, you know, it was just freestyle. So that was a whole new skill set for me. And so when I learned that, or, you know, got maybe a little bit better, things started to happen for me in the front end. My legs are very important in my stroke. I would say I'm a more leg driven breaststroker. Yeah. It might not look that way because I'm able to get on top of the water, but my kick is super, super powerful enough to, you know, really launch me forward. And I always tell my kids, I give this analogy. So, and I often think about it, and I thought about it through college. You know, a boat is kind of built like this, right? The top, the very tip of it. So when a boat's going through, the water is going to go that way so that the boat can go through. Well, sure. Breaststroke is the same. Your hands are like a boat. Your hands need to be on top of the surface so that the water can go that way, so that you can go through the water. And so having your hands on top of the surface is extremely important nowadays, I would say, in breaststroke development and evolution. It used to be kind of, you know, you can kind of maybe go on under the water a little bit. That's how I used to swim. And then I realized, you know, you got to use your lats to push your hands forward on top of the surface to be able to make your body go through the water and less drag to the face, right? So technically speaking, I always use that analogy, and I always go hands first, body second, kick through. That's how you kind of do it there. But that analogy is kind of something that I would always think about. And then through college, it's something I still tell my kids that a coach told me, Dorsey Tierney Walker had told me when she was coaching me, count your strokes. Yeah. It sounds like common sense. It sounds like you would do that every day.
No.
But as soon as someone prompts you to do it, it'll change, right? So instead of maybe thinking about how much this hurts, I think about stroke count. And I know, you know, over time you'll develop stroke count for 50, stroke count for 100, stroke count for 200. And then there's a difference between practice stroke count and maybe a race. Or maybe when you're doing a suited practice versus an unsuited practice. So it shouldn't really change that much. But for example, like I know I'm hitting 100 pace when I'm doing 7 strokes. Short course. Yep. I know I'm hitting 200 pace when I'm doing 6 to 7 strokes. I know I'm hitting 50 pace when I'm going maybe 7-8 or 8-8 or, you know, whatever. But now my stroke count for my 100 breast would be 6, maybe 8-9 or something. It would change a little bit, but you know, it's you know, in practice I'm taking 7. So right. It's just you have to learn yourself and where you're at and know where you need to be racing at. And you know, whatever you have opportunities to suit up, don't just suit up. Like yes, put your suit on, but it's extremely important for you to also wear your cap right. If you're going to double cap, you should be double capping for your race. You should be double capping during practice when you suit up. Because that's another opportunity for you to just really get used to what you're going to be doing when you're racing, in my opinion. And so, you know, I have a lot of hair. And when I wear, you know, my dome cap, I want it to be as flat as possible. So I'm not going to waste an opportunity when I'm suiting up to like have my cap, you know, sticking out with my little hairball back here. I'm going to make it flat. I'm going to put my dome cap on. I'm going to do everything I need to do. So that was something I was taught in college as well. You know, race rehearsal is not just going off the block. It's putting your suit on. It's putting your goggles on right. It's, you know, warming up your body correctly. Things like that. That were kind of setting us apart too. And then
I was going to ask, is there an example of a set or practice that was like you know, a difference maker or something that scared you but made you better in your mind?
It's really going in the archives for me. But I mean, I would say maybe not a specific set, but you know, what scared me, if I'm going to be honest, was the 200 breasts. I was scared of it for a long time. And again, I learned to love the things that I might not like so much.
Yeah.
I eventually learned how to swim a 2 breast up to a 207. So I kind of liked it a little bit. And, but, you know, coming in, I was 214 and freshman year ended with a 211. So I was happy to be down at 207, but we would do sort of component training for breaststroke, and we still do. And I think it's valuable, especially with breaststrokers, to take apart your stroke. Maybe not every practice you can do this, but, take it apart. So this is what I do in my lessons as well. Work on the kick, work on the pull, work on drilling, and then maybe swimming. But even before that, maybe even your pull outs. And then start swimming, and then start doing stroke count, and then start doing transition work from your pull out into your first stroke, and really feeling what that would feel like, and then developing your stroke count there. So it's kind of an evolution, I would say, that kind of really helped me when we would do those practices. But we still do as well, some hypoxic work with breaststroke. It's important, maybe 75s, 2 kicks and a pull with a flip turn. You can't breathe on the wall, or 2 kicks and a pull with double pull outs, or 3 kicks and a pull with a flip turn, or something like that, or an evolution, which could be like, 75s, 3 kicks and a pull, 2 kicks and a pull. And then on the third lap, you do double pull outs, regular swim, like something like that, because it's gonna put your body in a state of a hurt that you would feel at the end of a race, when maybe you might not be doing race pace, or maybe you're not pacing for 200 pace or anything like that, but your body's gonna feel it because you're holding your breath. Is another valuable way, if you don't just want to pace breaststroke all the time, to like really get your body on the edge there. Something that really helped me in pulling too. Breaststroke pull was key there. Lots and lots of pulling. I don't really have a set in mind for what that would be, but
I like that.
We also worked a lot on pullouts too. So we would do, pull-out progressions. So you start out with literally just a streamline, but some kids don't really know how to do streamline, if you believe it. Even at our level, you got to tuck in that core a little bit. No sag city, but you push off, and you just do each segment, and it just sometimes maybe if it's just being prompted, right? It's sometimes when you're in practice and you went through high school and you got to this level, you kind of just maybe got comfortable with what you were doing, and then you take it apart, and you're like, wait, the dolphin kick's supposed to be before the pull down, or like what, like just being prompted is important, I would say. But for a set, I'm not so sure, but I really enjoyed our off the block things. I think that was probably the most valuable thing, because I enjoy racing, and to be a good racer, you have to race during practice, or maybe just race often. And taking those racing opportunities very seriously is something that was a game changer for us and myself.
Yeah, absolutely. What does swimming smart mean to you?
Swimming smart. It's a really good question. I gotta think. I really want to get this right, and I want to word it correctly. So sorry. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Yeah, take your time.
I don't think swimming smart is all about race day. I think swimming smart goes back to the process, trusting the process, trusting your coach, trusting in your abilities that you've put in the work to prepare your body to perform. You only rise to the level of your preparation. And so if you've prepared yourself correctly, you will rise and you will get what you have in mind for your goals. But outcome oriented, right? Like just, I want to go this time, period, is not a measurable goal. It's not, a smart goal. So swimming smart, right, is part of the process.
Like that.
So swimming smart, it entails a lot of mental prep too. I would say visualization, you always hear it. It's just like stretching. No swimmer wants to stretch. No swimmer wants to do what's good for their body. And I don't know if people would agree with me, but I would say that like 80%, maybe more, of swimming is in your mind, right? Like you spend so much time in the water with your thoughts, with yourself. I mean, yeah, you're on a team, and yeah, you're swimming a relay with three other girls, but at the end of the day, it's you in the water, you in the black line, period. And being mentally strong, I like mentally tough too, but mentally tough in the right scenarios, but mentally strong and rooted in your sport, and where you know having really good self-talk, having belief on your heart, having maybe even you can get so wrapped up in this sport and have it ruin your day if you didn't have a good practice, or you didn't swim what you wanted. And having the ability also to kind of maybe separate yourself. You are a person who swims. I'm not Hannah Bach, the swimmer. I'm Hannah Bach who swims. I'm Hannah Bach who loves swimming. I'm Hannah Bach who loves prioritizing swimming. I love it. But, I'm also a person outside the pool. And so I would say swimming smart is turning on your brain when you need to turn it on for the sport.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So when you're at practice, and that's what you're thinking about. When you're at home, at nighttime before bed, maybe visualize, but go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like
prioritize
things like that. So, when it's time for family, it's time for family. When the lights are bright, the lights are bright. Your time to race, right? And it also comes with being a student of the sport too, right? That's also important, as I mentioned before. But that's what I would think swimming smart is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I guess maybe technically, if we're going to talk swimming, I wonder if we're going to go the route of, in the pool. Swimming smart would be relaxing. It wouldn't be muscling. It wouldn't be. I tell my kids, I say more strokes doesn't equal fast. Powerful, connected strokes equals fast.
Yeah.
So swimming smart is in the water. That's what I would say for any stroke. I think that's true.
Yeah, I like that. No, I was just working with a kid on their freestyle, and that's the exact conversation we were having. They take a lot of strokes, they have a lot of energy, and it's like, hey, you got to be more efficient, powerful, connected strokes.
You got to learn how to hold water, especially with breaststroke too. And the concept of holding water to somebody who doesn't swim makes zero sense. But
it's true.
If you hold water, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. You gotta catch the water right and hold on to it as much as you can, pull through it. So last couple questions. So talk to me about you kind of coming back to swimming and what you're looking ahead for in this kind of chapter of your swim career. Because you mentioned off air that you kind of like saw a podcast, or you listened to a podcast, and that kind of sparked a curiosity to get back to maybe a goal that you have for yourself, rather than closing the chapter on swimming post-college.
Yeah, that's right. So, my college career ended at Olympic trials, last cycle, 2024. And, I was going to retire. And so I had retired for about, I took about 10 months out of the water. And, during that time was when my internship started. And I was like going to go all in on it. I'm just a working girl now. And I decided to start doing my master's degree as well in sports management. And so I was doing two of those things. I'm like, okay, just got to work out. And I actually found it really difficult to work out on my own.
Yeah.
To even eat correctly, because I know how to fuel myself for burning 3,000 whatever calories a day. I have no idea how to fuel myself for like a walk that burned like 400 calories, maybe not even that much. Like, I had a really difficult time with that, but I was wrestling with myself. I'm like, okay, am I going to go back to swimming because I like want that life back? Like not that life back, but I was wrestling with the thought of, am I just going to go back because I'm running away from normal life? It's hard. The transition is hard. And any student athlete, post-grad student athlete that's gone through that or has medically retired, understands that it's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And it might be the hardest thing you do. And
Yeah.
because again, that identity of yourself is gone now. You're not an athlete. I mean, in the sense of the word that you're competing and representing whatever. And
but
you can still be an athlete, go to CrossFit and have fun. Like
but it's the structure. It's like the day-to-day, the structure of practices, the meets that are coming up, like the whole schedule in the day-to-day, and also just setting goals. Like, okay, I have this to look forward to, and I'm working towards this. All of that sort of, then you're left to figure it out on your own. Like, what is that going to look like now? Is that going to be in swimming, or is it going to be in something different? Am I going to take a break and try to be a normal, person? And it's hard. I think like you said, everyone sort of grapples with that. So yeah.
And so while I was grappling with that, I was starting to entertain the idea of coming back and what that might look like. Can I balance it with my job and school? I mean, I've done harder things, I feel like. I did it in college. It's just, you're adding a job in there instead of, just school and swim.
Yeah.
But ultimately, as you mentioned, I saw a podcast of, I don't even know what the podcast was. It was more of just like a video on Instagram of a podcast.
Okay, clip. Yeah.
It was a clip of this guy, and he's like, okay, today's your 85th birthday, and you're looking back on your life, and your friends and family are all around you, and you're having the best time, and you think to yourself, what are you going to regret not trying, or what are you going to regret not having done? And I'm like, I'm going to regret not swimming again because I'm able to. I'm young enough. I'm not too far out. I'm still here at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Everyone that coached me is still there. And I kind of want to. And so all these thoughts go through my mind after I see this video. And I'm like, So it prompted me to kind of, talk to coach. And I'm like, what would this look like if I came back? And he's like, this, and this, and you could totally come back. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, March 31st. He said, March 31st, come back. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm coming back. And so since then I've been training. But, my friends are like, oh my gosh, are you crazy?
Sure. They're like, what?
Like, how are you even still doing this? Even today at practice, one of the swimmers was like, I don't know if I could be 25 and still doing this. And I'm like, I can't really put my finger on why I am still doing this, other than I love the water and it has been so good to me. And I love Ohio State, and I love what it has done for me and my friends, and what it has given me and my friends, and the opportunities that it holds, the culture it represents, and just everything about it. It's really gravitating. It pulls you in. And so I was considering, if I moved away, where would I swim to? It's just, it kind of worked out that I still work here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still here and I work here. And I, to put my finger on it, I guess I would say I would have massive regret if I didn't try again. And to try again means put my best foot forward every day and, try and go towards my goals of potentially making a final Olympic trials. And, that's a little bit away, but maybe, hopefully make the national team. That is in my purview. I'm a little bit far away right now, still coming back. But, the process is key here, and trusting it and trusting my coaches, and going back to my roots in college of just, doing it for the people next to you. Maybe they're not so much next to me anymore, but I know that they're in the back seat cheering me on. And, the pro life might be a little bit different in terms of, it's kind of about you now. And I talk so much about my team, right? But I know that I can do it, maybe not so much with them, but I know that they're still, with me. It sounds like they're dead.
Yeah.
They're not dead, but
Yeah.
like carrying on the legacy and just doing it. But also doing it for me. It's okay to do something because I love it and because I like it and because I have goals. And I would give advice to swimmers, like, it's very important to stay humble. It's also important to give yourself praise and grace when you need it. And, I am a good swimmer. I am good enough to go Division I. I am good enough to go Division III. I am good enough to swim post high school. I am good enough to swim in high school. I'm good enough to swim the 200 IM for the first time. I'm, all these things. You just have to. It's all about self-talk and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that.
That's great. And so, last question for you, Hannah: are you a fan of a get out swim? And if so, do you have a favorite get out swim story in mind?
I have a story, and I can send you the video.
Wow, that's
so I gotta find it. But I am a fan of a get out swim. It just depends on what it is and who's doing it, I would say. Now, at Ohio State, we train in zones. So there's men and women sprinting. There's like mid-distance and, the jungle, distance swimmers and everything. So I was actually not part of this group that had the get out swim, but zone 3 at the time, which was like mid-D, 200 IM, something like that. There was a cockroach on deck. And Coach Mike Hume at the time was like, Ian Mikesell, who's in my class, he's a breaststroker. Mike turns to him, he's like, if you eat that, we can get out. And Ian ate it. And they got out. And, I'm on the other side of the pool and I hear screaming and yelling. And I'm like, what is going on over there? And then later that day, I saw the video of him eating the cockroach. And so I'll send it to you.
Wow.
Not say you have to eat a cockroach to do a get out swim, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a get out, it's a get out, eat a cockroach, and that's it. Wow.
It was crazy.
That's wild. What people will do to get out of practice. But eating a cockroach, I mean,
it was alive.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a choice. Yeah.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Took it like a pill, just down.
Just down it. Yes, yeah. If you're not like chewing, like you just down that, and it's, it's not that bad, I guess. But wow.
Also, I will mention something that I've been meaning to mention since talking about high school. This is different. This is off topic, but maybe you can tie it in. I just want to emphasize. So maybe to talk about myself a little bit. In high school, my sophomore year, I got 5th at state. And so I was super sad. And I was like, I'm never going to feel like this again. And I went undefeated my next 2 years. And I'm currently still the state record holder and the first girl in Ohio to be under a minute in the 100 breaststroke.
Wow.
So that really, changing nutrition, changing, maybe sleeping more and, all the things really, really paid off for me. And that's kind of how I got on Ohio State's radar too.
Wow. So it was really like making that shift to take things seriously. Did you look all that? Because you said you started cooking for yourself. So did you look into that yourself, or were you like advised by coaches to be like, "Hey, Hannah, you need to start doing this"? I
actually wanted to be a dietitian during that time. When I was thinking about colleges, I'm like, I'm gonna be a dietitian. So I kind of just started researching and like looking at things that good for muscle recovery. I would eat like the craziest, weirdest things for breakfast. I would eat like rice and eggs and like sweet potato. Which sounds crazy, but normal people don't really eat that, I feel like. But
it's not too crazy, but yeah.
No, like sweet potato and eggs. But I don't know. I would, make like some vegan meals, maybe plant protein, just for variety. Like a lot of lentils, a lot of beans. Those are really good for you, and just fiber and stuff. So I kind of just got really intrigued with that kind of stuff because I felt like the school meals I was getting wasn't going to do it for me because it's, a little bit more processed. They're doing their best. I went to public school, Brecksville, Bradley Heights High School. So it was really, really awesome. And I'm so thankful for everything they did for me too. But yeah, junior year on, I started making my own breakfast as a lunch. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Swimmers, take notes. Yeah, take notes on that because nutrition is important. Everything outside of the pool is important as well.
extremely.
Got to fuel yourself correctly. And yeah, I appreciate it.
One more
Hannah.
tip. One more tip. I'm so sorry.
No, go
With
ahead.
nutrition, and a lot of kids don't know, guys. I just want to make it clear. Post practice, coach is going to tell you to eat protein. That's a thumbs up. But you need to eat a carb with your protein. And here's why. Your body's going to use whatever you put into it after practice for energy. And if you want all of the protein to get absorbed into your muscles, you need to have a carb in there so that your body can use that as energy instead of the protein. So if you just put protein in there, let's say you put 20 grams of protein in there, your body's going to take 5 away for energy. You just are going to get the benefits of the 15 grams. So you need to have a carb in there so that your body can absorb that and use that for energy. And then you can have all the 20 grams of protein for your muscles to recover.
Wow. You heard it here. Yeah.
That's my knowledge.
Mic drop after that. Yeah. No, that is good though. I was thinking about it now. I was like, I do eat protein after like I work out and whatnot, but the carb thing, I guess I don't think about as much.
Yeah.
So
whether it's like an apple and peanut butter or, a banana with peanut butter or like, bananas might not be a carb, but like maybe some graham crackers or like some gummies or, something easy to grab. Like maybe if you're going from swimming to lift, like definitely like an Uncrustable is a good thing, or PBJ or like a granola bar and a chocolate milk or something like that. Yeah. Just little small things too. It doesn't have to be a big meal right after you work out.
Yeah. So important though. It really make or break your training. Right.
It really will.
It will. It absolutely will. Because you can notice a difference. And appreciate you bringing that up. That's really,
food for thought, huh?
Food for thought. That's what it is. It's food for thought. Sweet. Hannah, thanks for hopping on. I appreciate your time. And I think, there's a lot of good takeaways in here for anyone who listens, swimmers, coaches, and thanks again.
No problem. I really enjoyed it. And go Bucks.
Go Bucks.